feed our senses in so many different ways. We feed our bellies in the restaurant, but we don't feed the soul. And that is why there's such a sense of dissatisfaction in ourselves and in society in general. That's why we chant Hare Krishna. So please join us any Saturday night, chanting here on the streets. It's a very simple process, chanting this sacred sound vibration. Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna!
Often people question, is Hare Krishna movement a cult? And because they have heard many things about the movement, some good, some bad, you know. And actually Hare Krishna movement is not a cult, but rather it's an ancient culture and ancient spiritual wisdom and tradition that was practiced for thousands of years. And within this practice they have achieved amazing states of self-realization. And the scriptures say that the purpose of life is really to engage yourself in self-realization, to understand who you really are, what's the purpose behind all of this, you know, life, what's your relationship with God, with the universe. And all these things, they're really important to understand. Otherwise, we will not make progress in our human journey of life. But you know, usually when people see these devotees wearing, you know, orange robes or saris, you know, having shaved heads and chanting in the streets, it looks quite unusual and strange. That's why so many people kind of condemn this movement. They think it's a cult, or, you know, it's just like, you know, intelligent man, when he hears some theory, some hypothesis, he doesn't say, oh, it's not true, it's all nonsense. An intelligent man, he tries it on himself and then he draws conclusions from that. First he has observation and then he draws conclusions. What I experienced is that in London life is really busy, you know. People are rushing everywhere. They have lots of desires to fulfill. When I was living here, I was thinking, you know, if I want to live a life like that, if I really want to have this kind of life, you know, going to work every day and then from having a job from 9 to 5, then coming back, you know, cooking for your family or caring for your children and having all these kind of duties. Although I wasn't really a spiritual person before, I wasn't like so much into religion, but I was always, you know, searching for some truth in life, searching for some deeper meaning. I admired, you know, like simple living, natural living, you know. And for me, because Hare Krishna movement, it's kind of practicing simple living, high thinking. The first time I saw the devotees was when I was a little girl, and I saw the Harinam in the street. You know, when the devotees, they come out on the streets and they chant the holy names of the God. So that was the first time I heard the Maha Mantra. When I was 17, I started to visit this preaching center in Lithuania. So I met the devotees there and I started to kind of reading the books. Even before coming to London, I had in mind that there are like 2 beautiful temples in London, and I just, when I arrived to London, like the second day, I went to find out where the temple is. I realized that I really want to have the temple life experience. So then later I decided I should join the Bhaktivedanta Manor temple, and I enrolled for a 3-month course. But soon I realized that 3 months is not enough, and I stayed longer, and I'm still here. My family was not always supportive with my decisions, especially when I told them that I'm planning to drop out of the uni. So they tried to convince me to stay there and just carry on, and they gave me some actually useful advice. They told me that, you know, in life you cannot really achieve anything without some sacrifice, without some austerity. So they told me that, you know, even if it's hard, you should carry on. And my mom especially, she's quite a spiritual person. She brought me some books when I was young, when I was like 15, 16. She brought me some books about like spiritual things, like how to practice yoga, meditation, or some other things. So she was really kind of trying to convince me to stay at the uni and get a degree, you know, be a doctor. And in this way she told me that I can be spiritual, I can help people, I can treat their illnesses, you know, and at the same time I can practice the spiritual thing. She told me, why do you need to dive so deep, you know? It's not necessary. Actually, she spoke in truth, you know, but for me it felt differently. I felt, you know, I had a calling, you know, not like really like some, you know, some kind of calling, but I felt that this is not the way, and it is said that you should follow your heart. My parents, they are okay now, but still they kind of my mother, she reminds me that, you know, that I should think about my future, that I should you know, study maybe next year after I finish my studies here in the temple. But of course I consider that an option, you know. It's not like I completely want to be aloof from the outside life. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that it's not about your externalities, it's about the internal consciousness of your inner being. So the daily life in the temple is really enjoyable experience. We rise up early, as I said. We rise up before 4:30 in the morning, before the sun rises, because it is considered to be a very auspicious time to perform spiritual practices, because the mind is still peaceful, the mind is, you know, more easily to control, and it gets more easily absorbed in the names of God. It can focus more. So we perform mantra meditation in the morning. Then we have a morning class given by some senior devotee, which is also very enjoyable because they read from the scriptures and they comment them on them and from their own, like, you know, realizations. And then later we are engaged in different kinds of activities, like doing some practical service, like cleaning, making some vases, arrangements, and like many devotees, they go out and they preach. Of course we have time for study. We read the books, we discuss between ourselves, and yeah, that's pretty much how the day passes. And we take rest early, like at 9. So it's not like we the devotees are just like, you know, mad, you know, after the, you know, chanting his names and just doing nothing. We do activities here. We do everything like a normal, ordinary people outside do, but we dedicate these activities to God. So that's the main thing, you know. Like here living in the Bhaktivedanta Manor, I sometimes feel like, you know, it's such a wonderful place, because God is in the center here. All the activities are around him, you know, and devotees, they really try to remember him through chanting of his names, through doing the work as a worship for him. For me, like living in the temple and being surrounded by very good examples, by the people who are really advanced, I get inspired, and that's why that's the main thing why I enjoy living here, because I see people who are really serious on the way they chose to live. I'm not initiated yet because I'm in the movement just kind of recently. I came to the movement 3 years ago, so it's not a long time since I've been practicing it so seriously. Before initiation there is a process for aspiring a guru, so you kind of tell your chosen spiritual master that you want to be his disciple, then it's kind of a period of time when you get to know each other more. And the guru as well, he has to decide whether he wants to take up you as his disciple. And only then the initiation takes place, which is kind of like you can say it's like a formality. But the thing is, I don't consider myself to be a nun, because I'm just, a young girl, practicing Krishna consciousness, but I'm not like, now I'm gonna devote my whole life to being a nun, It's just for some time, because I want to study, I want to learn. Actually, I never missed being like an average young person. In fact, I was never like the young people that are right now. I was never like going out and having drinks. I never smoked. I never had like these bad habits. So it's not like something that I had and I changed it into Hare Krishna habits, I can only imagine my life centered around Krishna, around this movement. And of course, sometimes I consider, myself getting married, having kids, raised in Krishna consciousness. But it all comes in time, We shouldn't really contemplate these things and desire too much, because when the right time comes, the right person comes to your life. So I'm quite at peace at this point, in peace, because it's not really up to you. Some things you just have to surrender and just trust in the will of God, because actually He's the one who provides us everything. We just need to try to engage in His service, and everything will be nice.
Krishna, Krishna, Krishna